7:02. I'll call the Common Council meeting to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Iverson.
Here.
Schatzinger.
Here.
Reamer.
Here.
Gallops.
Here.
Grenert.
Here.
Gotsky.
Here.
Sorensen.
Here.
Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Let's have a prayer. Gracious, giving, and guiding God, as we embark on our journey of Holy Week, may your journey to the cross strengthen our own paths of discipleship at this time. We ask that you bless everyone gathered here this evening to be about the task of leading and guiding our city of Ripon. And may the meditation of our hearts and the sounds of our voices be acceptable in your sight. Amen.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Now we'll second.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by Dave. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Now it's time for public comment. This is the opportunity for citizens to come before the council with comments and concerns on any current city issue, knowing no action may be taken tonight. I ask that you keep it civil and respectful and within 5 minutes. However, discussion of personnel or individual members of Common Council shall not be permitted. I expect you to be respectful, and in return, I expect the council to treat the citizens with the same respect. Before you begin, please state your full name and address for the record. Tonight we have Ann Gibney. Step forward.
Good evening. My full name is Ann Gibney. My address is 703 Woodside Avenue. And I'm here to talk about becoming a sister city with Ripon, Yorkshire, a town that I've been to when I lived in England, and that is a beautiful city and, of course, holds a relationship to our city because we're named for it. The John Scott Horner's grandparents came from Ripon, Yorkshire, and it has much to offer. I wrote just as a private citizen to the city of Ripon, to the city clerk. The city administrator presented my letter to the Ripon City Council in England, and they are very interested. So I'd like to see us proceed. I'm not quite sure, just being an ordinary person, I'm not quite sure. Communication has been opened, and I would like to see us sister with that city. There's a lot of twinning and sister citying going on around the world, and Ripon, Yorkshire has one twin in England, they call it France, and nothing in America. But there are, I believe I counted 46 communities in in Wisconsin that have sister cities in Europe and or South America. I join that number.
All right. Thank you.
There are lots of exchanges that I've thought of. I'm sure that it's a drop in the bucket, but I would love to see, for example, exchange visits. A group from Ripon, Wisconsin just get together and go over there, and they come over here. And I've thought of lots of things here that we could show them that would really give them a flavor for our town. The little white schoolhouse, I'm a little iffy on that one because not everyone in Europe is very keen on the Republican Party right now. But if we can convince them that the historical Republican Party is not the same as the Republican Party now, I think we could do that. Ripon College comes to mind. Going to a play or a concert at either Ripon College or the Thrasher Opera House, taking a boat tour of Green Lake, visiting historic homes here in Ripon. We could put them up at the Mapes Hotel at their cost, of course, or some other nice hotel in town. And I'm sure that owners of some of the more historic houses in town would be very excited to show their properties off. So those are just a few of the ideas that I've come up with, but I would like to see the council take up the subject and run with it. I'd be happy to be on any committee that's formed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I know this is unorthodox, if I may. Talking with this person here, she's going to give a presentation to, I believe, Rotary, and I know we have some artifacts from an exchange that the city did with the city in Ripon, Yorkshire. Perhaps, I don't know, I'm not promising anything, but maybe we could work it out that some of those things could be shown to the Rotary Club for the presentation. That's all that I'm saying. So I realize I'm out of order here. I apologize, but I thought that was something she needed to have advocated for.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next item is a public hearing. City of Ripon proposed community development block grant application for Hamburg and Henny reconstruction project. Time is now 7. Open, and I will turn it over to Ben Andrews from MSA, who would be the project lead at this point, at least. So Ben?
Yes, thank you so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, as introduced, my name is Ben Andrews. I'm a community development specialist at MSA Professional Services. Application for the CDBG PF application program. Just before jumping into the agenda items, I just wanted to share a little bit of information about the CDBG program. The CDBG program was enacted through the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974. The Wisconsin Department of Administration, otherwise known as DOA, has administered the CDBG funding source since 1982. The Department of Administration has the goals of benefiting low to moderate income households, targeting funding areas of the greatest need, and for housing, public facilities, and economic development activities. So with that, I'm going to jump into the agenda, which the first item is for the identification of the total potential funds available. So the Department of Administration historically has received approximately $28 million per year for the purpose of housing, rehabilitation, public infrastructure improvements, emergency infrastructure, and economic development in exchange for job creation. This upcoming year, they have quoted within their training that they are going to be having up to $10 million available for this year's cycle. That's what they said publicly. However, we do believe that there is more funds available for this upcoming cycle than $10 million. If awarded, the CDBG program can award 2 CDBG dollars for every $1 of local match, which would mean that maximizing a grant award would be over a $1.5 million project. With that, I'm going to hop into agenda item number 2, which is the eligibility of CDBG activities. So there are a few different programs, as I mentioned before, through the CDBG program. Those include economic development, public facilities for economic development, planning grants, and housing. Just for the sake of time, I'm just going to elaborate further on the public facilities grant. So for the public facilities activities, eligible activities could include water facility improvements, including water main looping extensions, treatment source, hydrants, valve replacements, sewer replacements, including the replacement of collectors, interceptor mains, improvements to lift stations, treatment plants, and lagoon and dechlorination facilities. It could also potentially fund stormwater improvements. It could also improve fire stations, libraries, senior centers, handicap accessibility, and community centers. So with that, I'm just going to hop over to agenda item number 3, which is the identification of community development and housing needs. So for this project, there are no identified housing needs that will result as a result of the proposed project. The community development needs that are included within this project are the replacement of aging street and utility improvements. Unless any other board, well, I guess now would be the time if there's any other community development needs that any board member. It's not required, but I just wanted to provide the opportunity as well.
I just have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Do we have any areas or any parts in that area that have lead?
Yeah, so there are a few lead service lines in the area, so those will be a part of the application and a part of, one of the reasons we targeted Hamburg Street, so.
Thank you.
Sake. So can you rephrase the question again? What are we, specifically, one more time, you're asking us if we want to state it again.
Sure, absolutely. So this agenda item is the presentation of identified community development and housing needs. Identified within this project, there are needs for the replacement of street and utility aging infrastructure. Just now would be the opportunity as part of this agenda item, if any board members wish to express any other community development needs related to this project, now would be the opportunity to do so.
So to be clear, he's asking if we have any roads that need repair?
Any other community development projects within the confines of Hamburg and Henny Street?
I assume that
Well-
that our city has already gone through what the needs are, right? I guess I don't.
So let me just make this, and I'm sorry to intrude, but I just want to make this clear that this is a very structured agenda. The CDBG PF application. So the reason that I'm asking is just because it's a requirement of the CDBG application. We identified the needs of the aging street and utility infrastructure, and now just as identifying if there's any other needs that wanted to be addressed by board members.
Within this project, it's a road project, so there's not much more there. There's not a housing, it's not economic development, it's strictly a qualifying
Got it. Thanks.
All right, go ahead, Ben.
All right, thank you. So then agenda item number 4 is the presentation of activities for the proposed CDBG application. So the city of Ripon is interested in applying for CDBG PF funds for the reconstruction and utility improvements of the areas of Hamburg Street from West Oshkosh Street to Jefferson Street and Henny Street from Hamburg Street to Pacific Street. The street reconstruction would include the replacement of aging utility infrastructure, including infrastructure related to water, sanitary, and storm. This project is being proposed because the street and utilities within the project area have approached their useful life. Because the underground utilities need to be improved, a full reconstruction of the roadway would be the most beneficial option for the city. This project also involves the replacement of utilities within a system within the project area. The limits of the utility replacement are identified on the supplemental maps provided. The projects also include the replacement of curb and gutter and the replacement/installation of sidewalk. The street being reconstructed are composed of asphalt pavement. The average useful life of an asphalt pavement street is between 15 to 20 years, and the streets are also beyond their useful life. Because the utilities are being replaced, repairs to the road should also be done. With that being said, I'll go on to agenda item number 5, which is the review of any potential residential and non-residential displacement. So this being a street and utility improvement project, there are no anticipated residential or residential displacements as a result of this project. With that being said, I will move on to the last agenda item, which is for resident input regarding the community development and housing needs of the proposed CDBG. time, if any residents wish to provide any comment on the proposed CDBG project or any other CDBG activities, just wanted to note if there is a sign-up sheet that is present. If you have not done so, please put your name and your address on the sign-up sheet. Prior to speaking, please also provide your name and your address prior to speaking.
Is there anyone from the public here to speak on the Hamburg and Henry reconstruction project? Ben, there's no one here for this topic.
Great. Okay. Just for the sake of the public hearing, I'm just going to ask 2 more times just to allow speak last minute. Now would be the opportunity to do so. And hearing none, I'd turn it back over, if there's no one else looking to speak, to close the public hearing.
All right. Thank you, Ben. The time is 7:18. I will close the Again, Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes, thank you for your time.
All right. Next agenda item is financial management planning services. Adam?
Have a letter and a proposal for financial management planning services with Ellers. The total cost of that is $16,000. And then I also supplied to you, coming out of the 2022 audit, some of the challenges they found, although they upheld our rating. They did say we need to do some work to restore some of our fund to do capital. So as that occurred, as we went through the 2022 audit, this triggered a conversation with Ellers, as well as we have triggered a update of the entire city, revisit some things. The reason that's important is although we have projects and we have ideas and we have a capital improvement plan, a lot of times it's not realistic to the actual cost, right? You say, well, you can very much impact your capital improvement plan, because if something is quoted at $1 million and it ends up being 1.5, that's a lot of money, right? So, and as we have done planning over the last few years, there have been plans for facilities. There have been plans for parks and recreation. There have been plans for we've done the water master plan. We've done all of these things. So taking that entire work and getting it into a realistic capital improvement plan is what we are working on. None of that matters. Cannot fund it and finance it and plan this out much better. The city has done very little financial management planning over the last 20 years. So into the future a little bit more, 5-10 years from a capital and budgetary perspective. This also allows us to look at things like utilities, and instead of getting to the point where we are now with utilities, we can better project, hey, in 2 years, based on our current, operational costs, based on our current capital costs, with some projections of inflation and or other needs, right? To project when we need to present rate increases or go to the PSC for rate increases before it is too late and we're getting to a point where we are increasing them way more by waiting than just doing. Ultimately, working with Ellers, who has worked with the city for decades regarding TIF work. They've done all of our TID work for many years. They have proposed doing a financial plan. It would look at past audits and finances going back a few years, as well as projecting out into the future. There would be a couple more Two of them would be more your internal management, department head, and some elected officials. So if anybody really wants to participate, certainly we can identify those individuals, and then ultimately workshop and report to the council. So we would embark on this with Ellers, if you so choose to act on it tonight, starting in April and or May, and then it would be about a 3 our 2025 budget.
No question. This then will help us with that, paying for our portion of the Highway 23 rebuild.
Ultimately, yeah, there's a couple very large projects that are nestled in our capital improvement plan that we don't have a choice on, right? We pretty much have to do them. The state highway. Frankly, I'm less concerned about funding those projects, but very much concerned about, between the big projects, funding projects like Hamburg, Henny, St. Wenceslas, State Street. We need a better path for those and a more sustainable funding solution, because relying on grants and relying on, just the old way of doing it, we're going to continue to, like it's sort of directed in the Moody's rating. So this is definitely a part of it. Those larger issues are going to be in the mix, but ultimately what's, I think, more important are those.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Could you remind me how the ratings go? I mean, is A1 the top, or is it somewhere below
We
the
can always
top?
do better.
There is better?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
I think for our structure and our population, there are certain things that they rate on that we very much don't have any control over. I believe around us, the county has a better bond rating. Well, because they have a much larger tax base, right? Is the things that, but for our size, I would say it's always a goal to be better. We had a negative outlook assigned to our bond rating that we had removed last year. A negative outlook meaning, things could go south, and we would then downgrade you. We have worked through it with Moody's and talked to them, and we're fortunate they didn't downgrade us mid-rating because of the audit, but we've convinced them that we are working toward solutions and cleaning some of this up, and they have to continue to fix it. And I think that the financial management plan is a path to maybe help us either sustain or, improve our rating. I'd have to look.
Thanks.
It's going to be hard to get higher with our size, so.
All right. Right now, what Ellers does is, if I'm correct on this, they'll package a TID for us, or package the wastewater finances, whatever. What this is doing is taking all that they've done, put it together, and what we're going to do in the future, and put the best financial package going forward in this. Because right now, they're just doing what we ask of them to make whatever project, whatever TID, and this is them doing everything, so give us a better understanding of our finances down the road.
It'll give us an overall strategy for
Yeah,
those finances.
Instead of just,
Projections, strategy, where we're going to be short, where our pain points are going to be.
Right.
Right? So to just from staff's perspective, right? We have the list of projects, and we understand we need to begin tackling these things, but the current financial and funding mechanisms used to tackle some of these things, if we don't get it right, will continue to put a strain on the city financially. So we have to project this out better
Okay.
and ensure that we're keeping pace, so we're not, you know, every year struggling to approach, and we have to know that we can embark on a very aggressive capital campaign because of the deferred maintenance that we have within our infrastructure and facilities.
But we can do it. The TIDs are down there, and then the general fund, I mean, they're all here, so they're going to just come up with a long-term plan for all of these. And then I noticed there's 3 workshops at $5,000 each, so that the workshops are part of this up here, doing the TIDs and taking care of everything. So we're looking at doing that, and I take it we would want a final report
Yes.
also,
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
So I will make a motion to pay Ellers not to exceed $16,000 for their services for this project.
I'll second it.
Been moved by Dave, seconded by Jolene. Any discussion or questions?
Question, will city council be involved in the workshops at all?
Yeah, so the first 2, you should identify one council member, and then I would assume the mayor would be involved with department heads, and then the final would be, the 3rd workshop would be the full council.
Jolene?
I don't know how to ask this without sounding accusatory. This is a curious question. We've worked with Ellers for a number of years, correct? And also as was stated, for a long time, how could we avoid in the future not going so long? Or I guess what I'm trying to say is there a reason why Ellers hasn't suggested this in the past? Or how could we have avoided?
I wasn't here. I can't answer that. My only thing I could say is they weren't asked, or it wasn't a priority, or just looking back on it, I think the strategy for finance is struggling, and you know, when that is the main focus, the other things don't come to light, or they don't get the attention.
It occurs to me that as part of, so that we could know, as a city, what we're missing out on. Because I wouldn't necessarily know to ask them about this if I didn't know they offered it.
I can be that conduit for where we're struggling or where we need additional help. We bring forward these opportunities. We're conscious about the cost. We're conscious about our own staff and what they can contribute to projects like this. This one in particular is one that having someone from, and Phil Cosson and his team, you know, we talked about this as we were talking about other TIF work. So it was like, hey, Phil, can you also do this? He's like, yeah, we can throw together a proposal, simple enough. So, any pain points, or you see anything, certainly you can come talk to me, and I can try to find a resource out there. Obviously, we don't just want to pay it much. This is one that we have money in the budget to do this. We've been, as part of planning, I kind of targeted this as an opportunity in the budget for this year. So we've been, I get what you're saying.
No, I mean, it's a thanks to you. I mean,
no. If you approve it, then we're good. Like, and we can get working on it and yeah.
Any further questions? Hearing none. All is in favor of approving the financial management planning services not to exceed $16,000 with Ellers, say aye.
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 Opposed? That is approved. Thank you. Our next boundary. Adam?
So every census, the state with DOT requires that we amend our county and the town. The map is what's considered your adjusted urban boundary. So it is not the city limit. It is areas in which there's the potential for development and/or growth. Done. And the council to pass a resolution establishing it. The main purpose of it is essentially to establish whether or not certain highways and other road sections are minor time that may allow them to be eligible for county and/or city or like federal funding, right? So when you're looking at certain programs don't fund local roads. They fund a larger collector or what's called arterial roads. So this just sort of establishes the network. We had an opportunity to review the map. I think there's a map in there. It might have cut off some sections, or no, I think that's actually the boundaries are the boundaries on it. So so you can kind of see the area.
I'll make a motion to approve the adjusted Ripon urban area boundary.
Second.
Been moved by Doug, seconded by John. Any discussion?
I don't know if I can even vote on this. I have property within that area that you've shown on these maps.
Everybody does.
Well, I'm
it's the
just
whole city.
asking because Lud wasn't here. I didn't get to talk to him about that. Has the city or anybody contacted any residents in this areas that are being asked to be boundaries now?
It's
Or is it
not
a
changing any boundary in terms of jurisdictional boundary. The township is notified of this. They can provide feedback about where boundaries are. You look at where, there's growth or where there's, say rural housing, right? You kind of extend the boundary to those areas because they may grow bigger over time. There's no issue with property ownership or notification required. It's merely a function of WSDOT and defining what certain roads are and how they become eligible for funding.
So basically it's for roads?
Yes, it's
All
just-
right,
yeah.
because my other question was about the property owners. If they're within this boundary, do they have to change their titles?
No, it has nothing to do with.
Because we had to do
Nothing.
that for,
It's just, these are areas, every road has a classification, whether it's a minor collector, major collector, state highway, arterial or local road. All it does is it expands sort of the city's existing network of roads into areas that could be developed over the next decade to help repave or grow the community.
can the town's on board with this?
The town
Doesn't count?
has the opportunity to act on the same resolution, but they are not act on anything. The city is, because we are an incorporated area. They are not an incorporated area.
I just want to make sure we're all covered all the way around because we had a historic district, not that this is relevant now, but a historic district, and we were told that we had to change our titles for Fond du Lac County for the historic district, to put that on there, on our titles. So if we're putting Arcade Acres and all these other areas have to change their titles because they're within this boundary.
The map will likely never see any other use but for a planning purpose.
There's a section of the town that starts growing, and it's on a Class B road, which we know is like the bottom. And suddenly there's 10 traffic.
That is a use of this map, yes.
This does not mean that we are taking over the town of Ripon tomorrow. Although, They're really going to be worried now. This is just a planning tool. It may or may not come to pass. It just appears that there's some growth going over there. If it continues, they want to know so that they can maybe plan to upgrade that road. If the town has to upgrade it, the county, the state, or whoever.
Yeah.
So that traffic can flow. That's all this is.
Jolene?
I have a question. It just seems to make so much sense. And I can't, nothing has been identified why this would be a downfall. Sort of process that this is brought, to be voted on. Is there, how else could this negatively affect anything?
Well, like Adam said, it's an operation that's done every 10 years, I believe in connection with the federal census timing. And this is just a routine operation that needs to be done.
Yeah, it's a requirement that we approve this. The work to get to tonight has been comparing the map to our long-range master planning and land use plans to ensure that we're incorporating areas that we have identified. The county also, as well as getting any feedback from the town. So there's been feedback provided to develop the final map that is in front of you that makes the most sense from a planning perspective.
Thanks.
Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution approving the City of Ripon adjusted urban area boundary map, say aye.
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 I think I have to abstain
Very good.
because I own
Any-
property.
Opposed? And abstentions? All right, thank you. Moving on to project updates and staff reports. Anything for police department?
Yeah, election is April 2nd, 2024, from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. here in council chambers. This election is the spring election and presidential preference vote.
All right. Adam?
Just a couple updates here. St. Wenceslas Street, to give them an update on it, so I'll just give you all a similar and quick update. The main reason we were there was to go over what is a waiver of special assessments because of sidewalks. So we have been planning through that project with MSA and meeting with the school district periodically to get feedback and make sure that, they can use energy, although unlikely to relocate and bury underground power lines. So it's all sort of coming together. There have to be some concessions made just to keep this project moving forward. We want design done by the end, as well as then bidding to start to be closed out by April 18th. It's about a 3-month project. So if the council does award it later in April, we would believe that in June or July it would start. That would put, August, September, October. And, so we're communicating that with the district when it comes to their fall sports and other use of their facilities. The plan itself, a couple changes, movement of the St. Wenceslas from a one-way from Belleville to Sullivan to a two-way throughout, as well as the addition of sidewalk on the Inglesfield side. The district, like I said, has because it's a very narrow road, we're trying to fit a lot into it. So there is going to be some concessions for parking to put sidewalk improvements in that the district has requested. They will be assessed for all of that work. And basically that will grow as long as they request more and we get it into the project. So there's some areas that they want larger terraces, so we are accommodating their requests into the bid project, but they are paying for those aspects. So they will be assessed for a portion of it. They are aware of that. That number may change based on how long or how the project expands out. And what the bid comes back. The city also has a LRIP grant involved in it, so we have to kind of move this forward for this year. So we're waiting for final paperwork on that, and that will help with some of the costs as well. So a large project scheduled for 2024. So if you have any questions or want to see any plans, certainly you can reach out. I think tonight's meeting went fine with the school district, and they kind of have a better understanding of their involvement and what the expectations will be. The water tower project is scheduled to start on April 8th. So that will, you'll see crews, we had a pre-con meeting for that today. So that will be about a 3-month project as well. So should be wrapped up by July. And then we will, at the next meeting, have a financing package. We did, a portion of the water tower project through TID financing. So I believe it's TID 12 out there in that general vicinity. Can absorb and has access increment to absorb the rate for that financing. So we will bring that forward to the council in April. We are working through PSC rate case. They're tomorrow, so that is continuing to move forward. So there's been some delays there with requests for information, and ultimately tomorrow's meeting will discuss, just an update on all that, and auditors are here this week as well, so they're cleaning up everything for 2023 and looking at 2022, and then also assisting with the PSC rate case. That's all I have.
Question. Sad news that I read today coming out of a small town in Wisconsin, maybe perhaps it was Blair, that someone died cleaning out their water tower. Which made me think, so first of all, may he rest in peace, but second of all, it made me think, do we have the correct insurance for who we're working with? I'm sure we do, but with this news, maybe it's a story to follow on how ramifications.
We have.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, I have no appointments for the evening. Any future?
Just maybe April, May, just a discussion about sidewalks on Fenton Street. I don't believe that's something that's going to be tenable, but can we just talk a little bit about if that can happen, why it can't happen? Because we had someone on Fenton Street that came and asked about why there isn't sidewalks, so maybe a brief discussion about that.
Anyone else?
Yeah, actually, that's when, I guess at next meeting or at some point, when will we think about how we move forward with the sister city? I assume that'll be discussion moving forward based on what public comment was today.
I suppose the first step would be to figure out what the process of becoming an official sister city is, so we can look into that. And
I think we're gonna have to go over there and check it out.
Go with you.
I volunteered too.
You chartering the plane for us?
Just had a quick question. Aren't we already a sister city with Ripon, England?
I think we may have been at one point, but we are not
Oh,
currently.
they kicked us off? Just a question, because I know we have plaques on it, and we have,
There's stuff back there, right?
yes. And I know when Mayor Sumner was here, Summers, I know we were part of it then. So, I don't know.
But we'll look into that. Anyone else? Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved by Steve, seconded by Doug.